Juanita, you started off by talking about your experiences as a child. How do you believe that that's formed your ideologies around kind of fighting the good fight for people who are vulnerable?
Being abused sexually as a child from 4 to 10 by my mom's first husband, it definitely shaped my life. There is this red flag. And I believe, especially when it comes to sex trafficking, that these pimps, they can identify the low self-esteem. They can identify that we don't feel valued, that we're looking for love often in the wrong places. We want affirmation. And I know many survivors of abuse sexually, where because of the experiences that they've had, it shapes them in the decisions that they make. And often those decisions are harmful to themselves. What I would say for me is that having a foundation in church, I'm a born again Christian, and my mother took me to church my whole life. Having that foundation, it really helped me, because in the Bible, according to the Bible, it says that we must abstain from sex until marriage. At the same time, I know many survivors of sexual abuse who even grew up in church, who feel that they can empower themselves, they can get their rights back by using their body. It was taken from me. And so now I'm going to empower myself by sleeping around or by charging money. Because of the upbringing I had, that was never something that I entertained whatsoever. At the same time, though, that doesn't mean to say that there may be individuals who will see that something has happened to me, that there has been some childhood trauma, an ACE, as we would call it, adverse childhood experience, and so they'll be drawn towards me. It makes me think about when we have women, young girls who date boys or men who abuse them physically, and every relationship they get into is abusive. And I wonder if it's as though these girls and women are giving off some sort of fragrance or aroma that these men can detect. I don't think that's the reality, but there's something that they can see, maybe the way that we walk and the way we carry ourselves. Understanding the links between childhood sexual abuse or any form of childhood abuse and trafficking is probably what motivated me to do this work, because as Ben's rightly said, being an American or being British doesn't make you immune to trafficking. However, when you've been abused in your childhood, you're more susceptible, more likely to be exploited. And when it's sexual abuse, more likely to be abused in sex trafficking. And I think that's one of the great motivations behind the reason why I do what I do. I'm very passionate about serving others. I'm very passionate about educating. I don't want anyone's life to be destroyed by being abused in their childhood sexually, or God forbid, being trafficked. And so I feel that my experience is what really drives me forward. I'm very transparent about it. And the reality, the sad reality, is the statistics say things as though, for example, in the US or UK, 1 in 3 females have been a victim of sexual abuse at some point in their life. A lot of times this happens in our childhood. But what I find even more concerning is that if 1 in 3 females has been abused between the age of birth to 18, for example, usually by somebody that she knows, the reality is a lot scarier when we consider the number of males, or sometimes females, who are perpetrating this. Now, my desire is not to create paranoia. I want people to be empowered. Far too often, we talk about awareness raising. I used to volunteer for Shared Hope International. And as a volunteer in the training, they said we don't use the term awareness. And I don't use that term either, because for me, awareness is knowing and doing nothing. I want to educate and empower people that even if they have been abused in their childhood, that past does not have to dictate their future. They can turn their life around. And even as Ben shared, he came from a prestigious family. He was looking for an opportunity. And unfortunately, he was exploited. The reality is it can happen to any one of us, even in the Zoom call, and even those who are listening in. But when you have the education and you have the tools, you're better safeguarded to avoid the lures that may come about because you're looking for love, or you're looking for a new opportunity, looking for a new job, looking for a relationship.